I'm really kind of wondering how I fit into this. I feel like I'm kind of wedged in between Mother Teresa and the guy who invented the whoopee cushion. I'm somewhere right in between here. This is kind of like, well, you know, because whoopee cushions, they brought joy to the world, you know.
They still do.
Somebody made a ton of money off those things,
yes.
too.
Yeah. Who hasn't sat on a whoopee cushion and learned to live and tell about it?
Yeah.
Where are you from? Where'd you grow up? All that good stuff.
Well, I grew up here in Lancaster County.
Okay.
And I'm from Lancaster County since I was born here, of course.
Okay.
We moved around quite a lot when I was younger. I almost, for a little bit, had to ask my sister if we were in trouble, like we were part of some sort of witness protection program because my parents moved us around so much.
Yeah. How'd you get to Chicago?
I watched a lot of Saturday Night Live growing up,
okay.
A lot of stand-up comedians, and thought what they did looked enjoyable. And then someone was like, hey, you should try and do that. You're kind of funny. And I was like, okay, well, maybe I should do that. And the idea just kind of sank in that I was going to take classes. And the closest place to take classes was in New York, in the fashion district. They were having open classes for improv for Second City.
Okay.
And I decided while I was working my bar job at the Chameleon to finish up there, go home, shower, lay down for about 45 minutes, and then drive to Princeton Junction, New Jersey, and then hop on a train into the city, and then take classes, and then get back on the train, come back home, and then sometimes I had to work as soon as I got back home from the classes, so the days were like pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of Red Bulls. A lot.
That's always good for you.
Yes, that's always excellent. The old legal speed. Actually, I was pulled over once too for driving. The police officer was out, you know, they have the guns. He was just petrified. Like the hand went up, like I think he was trying to grab the gun and he just realized that I was going way too fast, and it went from like to slow it down. He pulled me over and asked me if I knew how fast I was going, and I thought, well, I could say not fast enough because I stopped or you got me, but we worked it out. He was very nice. He only gave me like some sort of minimal, you know, whereas he could have probably taken my license that day and had the car impounded, and then the funny guy sitting in his car out on the street waiting for mom and dad to come get him, you know.
That could always make for a good joke.
That could make a good skit.
Yeah, yeah. So speaking of skits, how did it go in New York City there?
That went well. I liked the classes out there. They had actually finished up, and then I liked like a lot of the major comedians for like Saturday Night Live and Second City were trained out there in Old Town at the main Second City building.
Okay.
So I just applied and auditioned, and then followed the ranks through all the auditions. Like a lot of them are open auditions that you have to take, and they either like, you funny, you not funny, you funny, you know, you just stand there. You're like, ugh. So there's a lot of like, yeah, and a lot of like, going back to my other job.
Yeah.
You know, so that was pretty much what had happened. And then did some stage shows, like we were writing a lot of material while we were out there. And then what you do is you get on the side stage, and then you can also audition to go on cruises and be a improv actor on a cruise ship.
Okay.
I'm very seasick, so I was like, I'm good. I'll stay on land, thanks. But yeah, it was fun.
Where's your inspiration for your comedic vein come from?
I think insecurity.
Really?
Yeah. I think all my life I've just been really insecure about things, and the biggest defense to tackle insecurity has been humor. I've gotten not really away with a lot of things because of my humor, but it's kind of like a Jedi mind trick, you know. There was things like school, like I never really learned how to do, what is it, the Gettysburg Address. They made everybody that day do it, like, you know, you're going through the whole, I was like the last in line. I was happiest, and the whole time I'm like, what is it? Four scores and 7 beers ago? What is 7? What? And I was like trying to really like focus in on what people were saying, and the teacher knew that I was like super nervous because I was just like, you know, going off like I usually do, like right now. And I don't know what I said. I guess I made him laugh, but he was like, "It's okay. You're good. You've made me laugh. You don't need to know the address."
Yeah.
It's kind of like long division and some other things they tell you. If you don't learn this is really going to affect you in the future. You're going to just not get a good job, and people won't like you. You know.
Until you find that calculator app on your phone.
That's right.
You're good to go.
Kids are spoiled today. They have everything figured out for them. It's all at the touch of a button. You know.
So you're probably mostly known, other than being a bartender here at the ABG, but for your artwork, right?
Yeah, I've been known to paint and draw here and there a little bit. Yeah.
Where did that come from?
That was just kind of happened at a real early age. Apparently I drew a Snoopy in my crib, which I'm yet to this day I've not seen this fine Snoopy drawing, but there's like, gather around the table, everyone. We're going to tell you the story of the Snoopy drawing in Jason's crib.
Okay.
And then you always have that one like adult that's like, I didn't do it. Did you do it? I didn't do it. So part of me feels like maybe someone was like, put it in the kid's crib. Let's get him started, you know? But that apparently happened when I was little, and I remember wanting to draw something, and my mom was like, you know, I asked for tracing paper, and she's like, what do you need tracing paper for? I was like, to draw. She's like, you don't need tracing paper to draw. We didn't have tracing paper. My mom's very creative. She's like, you don't need tracing paper. Just here's a pen and paper. Just go do it. So I was like, oh, my mom's a really smart lady. I'm just going to do it. I was at that age where I wasn't rebellious yet. I listened to everything that my parents said. So if I have a piece of paper and a pencil and I just want to do it, I'm just going to do it.
What were you drawing back then when you were a kid?
What was I drawing? I think it was a lot of like big obscure looking stones that I drew smiley faces on. It was like, that's me, you know.
Really?
They were all over the house. Refrigerator, you know.
So where did you take your art from there?
I took classes at Pennsylvania School of Art and Design when it was Pennsylvania School of Art and Design, not to age myself, but when it was Pennsylvania School of Art and Design.
Already did it.
And then I just kind of spent most of my art school money buying records downtown, BBC, Web of Sound, and missed a lot of classes, and went to a lot of classes, and slept through a lot of classes, and just kind of then kept working on art, you know, like just did it on my own, picked out certain things that I liked. I did a lot of research on artists that were fun and creative and that kind of spoke to me with their work. Some of those I kind of emulated in my own kind of like way, and that's pretty much it, you know. Just kind of always been drawing or painting or putting popsicle sticks and glue together, building that fantastic birdhouse, you know.
What's your medium of choice?
Sharpie.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Why Sharpie?
Always, I don't know, it's kind of permanent. Doesn't really allow you to erase. So you kind of just have to like put it down and be happy with it. And I think that it's really helped over the years, because I mean, you can see like I do color work, but I really just kind of am black and white, throw it down, get it done.
Well, what's the story with the coffee cups?
When I was taking classes, and even before I was taking classes on the road, I always have a Sharpie with me, but you don't always have something to draw on. So the Starbucks coffee cups were always like a great area to draw on, you know, and then you could just let it for somebody, put a message on it, put something in it. It got to the point when I was out in Chicago, I would walk into places and they'd be like, there's that guy, that guy, that guy, that guy, that guy. Kind of gave me a complex until I realized that they were talking about like all these like cartoon images that, you know, you would draw. Sometimes it would be stuff out of a sketchbook. Sometimes it would be that guy that was like yelling into his phone while he was on his laptop. Sometimes
like taken from real life.
Yeah, like sometimes. And I actually have had people, which is kind of odd since you can kind of get a hold of anybody now with like social media and the way our phones work, have like gotten back to me and said, hey man, I was in Chicago, or I was somewhere, I guess where we would go vacationing in Florida or whatnot, saw one of your cups, man, that's really, really cool. We took it, it's sitting in our windowsill. So and some of those cups I would put like, for the Starbucks kids, they were getting excited because there was something that was tangible that they could take, and I was usually leaving messages. Like if there was somebody in line and giving them a really hard time, I would like write on the cup like, it's okay, that guy in the coat with the hair, the eye that was twitching, it'll work out, trust me. And then you put something like a Super Bowl or like a bag of like gummy bears or whatever,
Really?
you know, like. And then I noticed that it started to like, you could see managers like yelling at the employees because they would be like, everybody would be hovering around me before I would leave. I would like go to get up and they'd be like, don't you even, you know, like ladies with Cabbage Patch Kids back in the 80s, they were like ripping arms and throwing things just to get the cup, you know. So that it went from the cups, and then when I came back here, the takeout boxes usually are great art surfaces. And people are like, why do you do that? It's kind of nice because it keeps me in tune and keeps me drawing when I don't always get time at home to sit down because of a busy schedule to draw. Although I like to do that with my daughters, you know, like sit down with them and get them drawing because they teach me a lot about art, you know, like, and it's pretty great how kids draw. It's very simple, but it's almost so simple that it's too complicated to recreate. Like Charlie Brown is a perfect example. Very simple, but if you sit down and you go to draw Charlie Brown, you can really have a hard time drawing Charlie Brown because he needs to look like Charlie Brown. Oh, right. Because if you get the dimensions off just a little bit, it doesn't look like Charlie Brown. And kids just draw and they don't let anything stop them, whereas adults, we have a lot of like, well, that doesn't look right, or this. Kids are like, that's the way it is. And they'll even give you a story. It looks like that because he came from the enchanted land of big head people with smiley faces, you know? Oh, okay, and they sell it and you believe it, but I learn a lot from them because they kind of allow me to not be so stuck in my ways, because they're not, you know? That's what's great about young minds. They're not filled with years and years of like, I don't know, anxiety or fear or just the world, just the world.
You said come back to Lancashire. What year was that?
That's another thing that I'll tell you. I am terrible with dates.
Okay.
I don't even know. Like, I think I've been back now. Well, I've been married for 10 years, so it's definitely more than 10 years. I would say like it's been 15 years, I want to say. Okay. And yeah, it's been pretty cool drawing on to-go boxes, and it's kind of weird. Some people like don't know my name. They're like, "You're the to-go box guy." I went from the coffee cup guy a couple, like 5 to 6 years ago, and I've graduated now into the to-go cup, or the carry-out box guy.
That's a big step up. I mean, from a cup to a to-go container.
It is.
What's next? I mean,
I have no idea. I don't know.
Big chunks of styrofoam or something.
Yes. Well, you know what? I'm doing my part in saving the planet. I'm being very eco-friendly because I also have a lot of people say that, oh yeah, man, we've got that takeout container hanging in our living room. I'm thinking, ooh, I'm like, I hope you washed it out. I just see this swarm of flies and this thing like tap, like a Ren and Stimpy, like there it is, you know.
Adaptive reuse.
Yes, yeah. And I always tell them, just let me draw. Let me get you a piece of paper and draw you something. Oh, it's great. But it is pretty cool. Like, I think it would be nice to see. And I put something on Facebook a while back, like if you have a drawing of mine or something, can you like shoot me a picture of it and let me see what's out there? And there's a lot of like, when I worked at the Chameleon, it was a lot of matchbooks. The matchbooks were white too. And they're great because you can just draw on them. People are like, matches, and you hold on to them because they don't take up a to-go container size room or a coffee cup size room. Yeah. So, but it's kind of crazy how all the art that I think that I've done is very disposable, you know.
Do you get requests from people?
Sometimes. Sometimes it's pretty crazy too what people will ask you to draw, you know.
Really?
Yeah. Well, it's nothing.
Vulgar?
It's nothing like, you know, too adult or too blue, but they're like, you know, usually it's their pet. You know, I have a Springer Spaniel. Do you think you could do that? And everyone that I work with is like, why is he doing that? Can he not see, you know, because I try and do it quick so I'm not taking up too much time, because, you know, that's also allowed me, like, my art has allowed me special privileges throughout the years. I worked in a restaurant and I did their special sandwich board out front, like, come on in, have a lobster cake and have a beer. And I was a dishwasher at the time, and the boss liked me, and he was like, Jason, you, come here. You, I don't know your name, just fill in for him while he does the board out front. So I'd be like sitting there for like half hour. Yeah. You don't want to take advantage of it, but you're like, this is really nice not having to be back in the, you know, the wet groin spot of the restaurant, you know, soaked with food all over you. Kind of, you feel like the classes, you know, you've gone from lower class to the the Upper East Side, you know. You moved on up.
What's your favorite piece of art you've ever done? Do you have one, or is there one?
I do. I have a very large Tony Clifton painting, Andy Kaufman's alter ego. It's in our hallway,
okay.
And it's pretty big. I drew it from, I think the picture was smaller than like a driver's license. So that was a big accomplishment, like doing something that was from like ceiling to floor, like massive, and actually pulling it off, you know. Sometimes I look at it and I'm like, how did I do that? You know, like how did I really do that? So that would probably be the one thing that I've done that turned out pretty good.
Do you get commissioned to do stuff at all? Or?
From time to time.
Yeah.
It's very tough though, because people are like, why don't you do that? Why do you sling drinks and serve food? Why don't you do that?
Why do you sling drinks and serve food?
I think because it's easy, and because it's, you know, it's always cash in your pocket. You know, anyone that says that someone that has given up on their dream because they're a bartender or a waitress or a server has no idea what it's like, and should actually step into the shoes of a server or a bartender or a waitress and really see what it's like, because it's kind of crazy. You know, I sometimes wonder why I haven't like completely gone off the tracks. You know, I'm working on it.
Yeah,
you know, I'm working on it. You know, but
practice makes perfect.
Yeah, definitely.
Tell me about the hat.
The hat.
Brom Bones. Where'd you get it?
$15 from your local Brom Bones. No,
Yeah.
We have kind of limited merchandise just because, you know, I'm not doing it for a living, the artwork, but I've been singing and writing music in a band for, it's going to be 30 years coming up.
Wow.
Probably like one of the longest, and not that I'm like, ooh, huh, but I just think about it, it's like 30 years. I try and think of some of the bands that I grew up listening to that are still kind of there, that aren't. It's kind of really like amazing to think that you could do something with somebody that you're not married to for like 30 years.
Yeah. How'd it start?
My best friend, who is the guitar player in Brom Bones, Chris Reese is his name, was invited to go play guitar in a band that needed a guitarist. And it was a couple township people, my late friend Sean Wolf and his brother Casey. Sean was the singer and Casey was the drummer, and then they had a bass player whose name was Matt Rice. You know, I just kind of tagged along with Chris just to like go and see what was going on. And they were doing songs that I had known for years and knew how to sing. So I just kind of jumped up and got on the mic and sang, and we just all kind of clicked. There was two singers for the longest time, and then a couple years went down the road, and then there was just one singer. It was just me. And then I just kind of, I guess I stuck like glue. Sean told me a long time ago, he had said, you know, we really didn't want you in the band. He said, well, I didn't. He said, but then I talked to my brother, and we were like, that guy's just so funny. He's like, my brother Casey was like, we laugh when he's around. Do you laugh when he's around? He's like, yeah, I laugh when he's around. He's like, we can't get rid of him. He's just so funny. So I didn't know if they kept me because I could sing or because they thought it was funny. Like I told you earlier, it just kind of all, you know, it all fits into place.
Stage presence.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, it was fun. So been doing that. The anniversary's coming up. I think it's going to be 30 years for Brom Bones very soon. You
got something planned for that?
Not at the moment. We're trying to actually get into the studio, and we have a new record coming out. It's actually going to be on vinyl. We're getting hip.
Hey, yeah.
Records are hip.
Yes.
You got to be hip, man. With a digital download. That's even hipper. I've done some reading on this hip stuff.
Yeah.
But no, so it should be fun to see. Maybe we'll have like, hopefully, if we can get in the studio and finish up what we've been trying to get out there, it'll kind of coincide with like the 30 years. Maybe we'll have like a record, an actual record release party somewhere. But,
that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Where do you guys play at?
Usually just in the garage at our drummer's house when we have practices and we write music. It gets tough, you know, to always, you know, travel. We play here from time to time, the Chameleon. We do a lot of like, we do a lot of benefit shows to raise money for good causes.
That's cool.
You know, I try and do that with my artwork too. I just like to think that what I'm doing, I kind of am putting my all into it, and you know, it's doing what it's meant to do in a positive way. You know. Cool. So yeah, with the music and the drawing and the joke telling.
Make a difference in someone's life.
Yeah, it's funny. It's usually that I've learned that over the years. It's usually just that little bit of time that you take and show somebody like you're open to them and that you can care about them and listen to them and maybe even relate to them in some way or another, that you're definitely making an impact and a difference. I think I kind of am like a life coach for some people in a sense, because I feel like I'm a seed planter too. There's a lot of people that I've talked to that I did not realize I impacted them like I did. I have had friends that have gotten married because of, like, I can think of people that I've been like, well, go talk to her or go talk to him. Sometimes that works out, sometimes that doesn't, you know? And when it doesn't, you're just kind of like, okay. And then there's people in the community that I feel very, very blessed that my friend Ryan at Foxduck said to me, he's like, you have a role in this whether you realize it or not. And I was like, I just told you to buy some silk screening equipment from me, man. I was just trying to tell you that I think that you're a really talented and smart individual, and if you start something up, there's no reason why it wouldn't work. And I can think of a couple people that have taken comedy and moved, like did what I did. Like I was like, just do it. And I've had friends that have actually moved out to LA and to New York, just because I was like I said, that's kind of scary, because if it works out, you're like, yay, you're the champion for this person. But if it doesn't, you're always like in the back of your mind thinking, whew, sorry,
well, I steered that wrong.
I'm not licensed to do this.
Yeah.
And that's, I guess, what the important thing about it is. People are like, aren't you upset that you aren't like drawing for a living, or your band's not been signed? And there's a lot of people that have, I think, been super successful with their artwork and their train fell off the track. And then there's people that have been very successful with bands and their trains also fall off the track. So I just try and keep it on track, you know, and just kind of keep on chugging.
Cool.
So, yeah. Like I said, if you just take the time to relate and connect, especially in this day and age with what we got going on, like, you just kind of can make a big impact and a big difference with the littlest thing you can do. So I guess that's kind of what I do.
Nice.
I like to do little things that make a big impact, you know.
There you go.
Yeah.